Hello, beauties. Welcome back to the vlog. I'm so glad to talk about this topic this week regarding leadership styles, and I so appreciate all of the comments and questions you've sent me in direct message. It means a lot. I always love hearing from you. I'm under the weather today, but I did want to wrap up the week for you, and then I'm going to go home and go back to bed. So we've talked this week about leadership styles. We talked about the style that's very data-driven, holds emotions close to their chest, really wants to understand all the why behind things. We've talked about the people pleaser style, who really wants to make sure all the emotions are heard, that everyone feels really good about decisions, that you come to consensus. The team is really essential. We've talked about the person who likes to direct things, who has a big vision and likes to lead the pack and have everyone follow, and has a lot of excitement around that and energy. And then today what we're going to talk about is a style that's true to mine, which is the idealist. And the idealist is, when I went to this training, I was one person out of 20 that had this style, so continue to be an anomaly. But the idealist is someone who makes decisions based on values. Relationships are really important to me, maintaining relationships. Sometimes I do a better job of that than others, because on the distress side of this, so there's good stress and distress, you sort of forget how to maintain that because you're so focused on trying to keep your values. But the team is also important to me too. And acting on ideals and these values, that everything I do is going to come back to my core values. So every decision I make comes back to my core values. And when you run a company that way, your company then becomes an extension of your values as well. And that's very different from how many companies operate. You may have been through a company organization or a nonprofit board where they talk a lot about our values and they really do that work. But if your leadership doesn't have those same values, then you're going to have a disconnect there, right? And sometimes that leads to conflict. So for me, one of my core values is empathy. I also think compassion is really important in leadership. Courage is important, and curiosity. So if I was going to apply those styles to and those values to my company, then I want to be making decisions through that lens, right? Because doing the right thing matters to me. The principle of the thing matters to me, and this wouldn't be a surprise to anyone who works here with me. I do a lot of things because the principle of it matters to me, even though that's not how a lot of business would operate. I pursue excellence, and excellence is one of the main things that drives me. So I'm not driven by money, although money is often used as a metric of success, right? So that other styles feel like they've had success. But for me, it's, did we do something at the best level that we could? Could we have done better? This is why lean and this continuous improvement, continuous education are such a fit for my leadership style, right? Because I always want to do a little bit better. I always want to improve a little bit more. I want to go the extra mile for people. I was trained that clients are our guests. And how do you translate that to a staff if you have a data-driven person or a people pleaser or a director? Those leadership styles are very different from someone in my style who's going to be about value, going the extra mile, making sure that everyone feels like they're the most important person in that moment. So going that extra mile and making something better. The relationships are a deep thing for me. And then also loyalty is a huge piece of this, right? I'm very loyal, sometimes to a fault, to things that maybe I shouldn't be. But being loyal to an idea or being true to my values is at my core. Now, when I'm in distress and things are crazy, which is often how my life goes, I might not be very practical, right? I might not look at the pragmatic way to solve a solution because I'm so committed to my ideals, and that can be a challenge. I might be seen as someone who's inflexible because I am so committed to what I think is the right thing to do that I might not be willing to listen to other options. And that's a flaw of mine. That's something that I need to look at in my leadership style to address that when things are going sideways. But the biggest part of this is that there's a ton of self-criticism. And this is one of the areas where I really struggle, right? So self-criticism, depression, anxiety, feeling like you're not enough, these unrelenting standards for myself. If you were someone who was going to give me a job review, you'd have to wait for me to critique my own performance first. I'll show up with 3 pages of things I think I can do better. And that's a challenge when you're in a leadership position, because people are looking to you to be confident and sure of your decisions. And they don't want it to seem like maybe you're indecisive because you're criticizing, you're filled with doubt. How do you counter that? What's the plan forward? And that confidence then starts to erode, and then you're so focused on relationships that can really cause problems. So one of the nice things about this leadership style, though, is that I think it comes with a lot of integrity, and it is an adjustment for me to accept my own leadership style. And so to wrap up the week, the takeaway here is to look at your own style, know that there's pieces of all of these styles in us, right? There's definitely times where I want to see the data and I want to look at the reports and I want to evaluate that and I want to understand the why. There's definitely times where I'm a people pleaser, where I want to be liked and I want everyone to be happy and I want consensus. There's definitely times where I need to direct and I have to take the leadership role and set the vision and charge off in a direction. But the majority of the time, no matter where I'm at, I'm still going to make values-based decisions. I'm still going to look at this and say, am I being empathetic to my clients? Can I put myself in their shoes? Can I put myself in the shoes of my colleagues here, or the people I sit on a board with, or in my own family? I'm going to look and make sure that I'm being curious and that I'm driven to keep learning. I want to make sure that I'm compassionate and that I really try to understand where people are coming from. And I want to make sure that I have the courage to stand up and say, gosh, something went wrong, and I'm going to admit it, and we're going to tell the truth, because that's true to me. And so knowing that about myself, instead of beating myself up for not being one of the other dominant styles, is really the first step in being a stronger leader. And by stronger, I mean being more confident in your own style. Because the one thing that I'll say for all the leadership styles, and there's many others out there, they're not just these handful I've mentioned this week, is that if you know who you are and you're confident in who you are, that goes farther than anything else you do, right? That you're committed to your idea, you're committed to your vision, you believe in your team, whether you're marching off in a direction or seeking consensus or reviewing data or being an idealist like me who wants to change the world. If you know that about yourself, you can do anything and people will follow you. So thank you so much for being part of this conversation this week. I will see you next week, and have a great weekend.